best bonuses, and giveaways. Generous referral program. Get an 80% free play bonus on your first deposit, up to $1,000. Sign up today, and use promo code SPORTSWEB. Remember, you can't win if you don't play.
back to a special edition, a late edition of the evolution of sports talk television. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Ding dong, the witch is dead. Ronde Barber in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. What's left to say, right? How do we start off this show? Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. We'll be getting all the reaction. We're looking forward to having TJ Rives of the Buccaneer Radio Network to talk about it. Of course, Barber, the fifth Tampa Bay Buccaneer, joining, of course, in history and the Pro Football Hall of Fame, of course, Leroy Selmon, the great Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, John Lynch, and now Barber. What are your guys' thoughts about it? I know you're Bucs fans out there. I know you want to talk about it, so let's do it. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Also, 727-409-7528. Again, 727-409-7528. You got to be happy for Ronde Barber, who has the single greatest Tampa Bay sports history moment, in my opinion, besides, of course, Super Bowl 55 and Super Bowl 37, if I'm correct here, because it is late. I believe it was Super Bowl 37. Taking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, putting them over the top, over the Philadelphia Eagles, 92-yard interception return. I still remember it like it was yesterday, honestly. And you know, if you're a Bucs fan, how difficult it was to beat the Philadelphia Eagles, especially in Veterans Field. And that's the last touchdown at the Vet, clinching your place to go to San Diego and play, of course, the Oakland Raiders at the time. Amazing stuff. Single-handedly, one of the greatest, if not the greatest, Tampa Bay sports history moment. Just saying. So what are your thoughts? Let's go out to the comments here. I know a lot of people want to talk about it. Roger Shue says first, thanks a lot for tuning in.
Acknowledge me.
Let's go out to Roger again. I'm watching. Thank you very much. Mike said, alas, another member of the Tampa 2 defense. How great, ladies and gentlemen, was that defense? I mean, look back at it. How great was it? What a great time for Tampa Bay Buccaneer football. And a lot of people say, well, it was 2002. No, this started a long time ago. It started in 1997. Tony Dungy taking over the team in 1996. The third choice at the time. The other two choices were, if you remember so well, Jimmy Johnson and Steve Spurrier. Both not coming to the Bucs. Tony Dungy, not sure what to think. Defensive coordinator of the Minnesota Vikings coming in. But this even started in 95 with, of course, Sapp and Brooks. And then you get Barber in 97. And it's not necessarily the best start. He wasn't the greatest player at the beginning, was he? No, he wasn't. But then in 2001, he leads the NFL with 10 interceptions. It took nearly 20 years for a corner to have that many interceptions. You have to go to Trayvon Diggs just last year. Amazing stuff. People say, Ronde Barber doesn't deserve it. Really? With the plays, with the consistency, with his numbers at the end of the day, and we've talked about it over and over again. 47 interceptions all time, 28 sacks, and 15 forced fumbles. If you compare these numbers to Leroy Butler, who got into the Hall of Fame in 2022, of course, of the Green Bay Packers. Bucs fans, you would know that because that was definitely a rivalry at the time with Brett Favre and, of course, Leroy Butler out of Florida State. 38 interceptions, 20 and a half sacks, 13 forced fumbles. He fits the bill. Ronde Barber, Hall of Famer. What can you say? We'll say a lot. So you're exactly right. The Tampa 2 defense, what a special defense it was. Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, John Lynch, Ronde Barber. How does that sound? You like that? Do you like that, Bucs fan? Do you like that, Bucs fan?
Baby.
Do you like that? Fire the cannon. All right, I'll tell you what. Let's go out to, I believe he's the historian of the sports web here. Let's go out to Best of the Bay, Tampa Bay. Ray Kennedy, your thoughts. Ronde Barber finally gets into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Welcome to the evolution, my friend.
Brother, I have not. You know, it's weird. Super Bowl 55, Super Bowl 37. There's been a few times the day we drafted Warren Sapp, he fell to us at number 12. Tears don't come easy for Bucs fans, and it's probably because half the time our lives we were spent, feeling sorry for ourselves because we had so much despair and we had so much. But tonight, when we saw double nickel, of course, we had kind of, we had heard even before a lot of people today that was the case. And, we chose that we weren't going to report it. We weren't going to try to break any news. It wasn't like that. What's great about it is, Peter, I'm glad we took that tack because the dignity and the respect that came with what Ronde Barber did, becoming the fourth Buccaneer from that 2002, 2003, 37 team to make it into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Very rarely now with Tom Brady and 55, and very rarely anymore do Bucs fans say, well, I'll never see that again in my life. I don't know if we'll ever see this again. And if we do, hold on.
Well, I tell you right now, I got a candidate for you that nobody's really talking about, but you should talk about. That's Mr. Simeon Rice. And before you say, well, that guy was one-dimensional, the one thing he did best out of everybody else, you look at his numbers, get after the quarterback. How valuable was Simeon Rice to that defense back then with Warren Sapp and Derek Brooks? In fact, I'll throw it out there. Once they got Simeon Rice, and the question was, and this goes back to Barber, this makes Barber's job that much easier. But you go to Philadelphia, you've got Rice getting pressure on Donovan McNabb. You've got Barber taking advantage of that pressure. I mean, and that's what you needed. But as soon as Simeon Rice came to that Tampa Bay Buccaneer defense, you kind of knew that this was going to be a scary, formidable defense because Rice was, languishing, if you will, in Arizona with the Cardinals at the time, but he was still productive. And who would you double team? Would you double team Simeon Rice? Would you double team Warren Sapp? You take your chances at the end of the day. And then, of course, once you get that pressure and that quarterback's going to throw that ball, of course, Barber sitting on a route and really just being a slot corner and being a guy that just kind of revolutionized that position that nobody talks about. And people were saying, well, the reason why he didn't get in the Hall of Fame is because he's a system corner. You look at his numbers. He was a top player of his generation. He led a top defense. He won a Super Bowl. There's nothing to be proven by Ronde Barber. Say whatever you want to about Darrelle Revis and Champ Bailey, but his numbers are absolutely comparable at the end of the day.
Brother, let me take this back for old school Bucs fans that are out there and watching the sports web and hearing the web night with us tonight, or anyone else, or even younger fans. Let me give you a little breadth of scope. Ronde Barber, a third-round pick out of Virginia. Not tall, didn't have long arms, but we knew between him and Tiki, we knew we had something special. We saw the kind of family that was raised. Of course, we didn't even realize that going back to when Bruce Arians was babysitting the Barber boys when his father, when they one of them used to be sick back in the day, because, of course, Bruce Arians and Tiki and Ronde's Barber coached on the same coaching staff.
Yeah.
But his career, think about this. We talk about special careers in the history of the Buccaneers.
Get this. People say Darrelle Revis, Ty Law, right? Ty Law, Hall of Famer. But get this number, guys, Bucs fans out there. Barber has more tackles, sacks, passes defensed, touchdowns, forced fumbles, and fumble recoveries than the Hall of Famer Ty Law. And yet people will still sit there and say, Ty Law is a better corner. No, he's not. By the stats, he's not. He's not a better corner than Ronde Barber. Barber absolutely deserved this.
Ronde Barber's career stretch, put it this way, when the Bucs drafted him in 97, he played with Hardy Nickerson, and when he retired, he played with Levante David. The guy spanned, you can't have, and I just posted this on Facebook tonight. I was talking to some brothers, and Peter, I got thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of favorite plays in Buccaneer history. And I can choose a lot from 37. I can choose a lot from 2020 and 55. I didn't realize till tonight. And I'll be honest, I already put it on Facebook. I posted. I did not realize till tonight that in the history of this Buccaneers organization, that 92-yard touchdown return, because that was when we realized we had beaten the Bugaboo. We had beaten the Philadelphia Eagles and shut down the Vet to make it to Super Bowl 37. That 92-yard touchdown return by Ronde Barber, pick six. biggest play. I'll stand by that. Biggest play in team history, and there's been some doozies.
When I tell you right now, in team history, there's definitely been some doozies. We're on with the great Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, our historian here, best of the Bay, historian of the sports web. I'm your host, Peter Blake. The breaking news of the night, as we're on a little bit later than usual. As we were waiting, I kind of got tired of all the football players singing. I mean, God, goodness gracious. Greg Kittle, Cam Jordan, don't quit your day job. Boy, he looked into the camera there and seemed like he was real serious about Peyton. It seems like he was real salty again. And then you had Kirk Cousins with the chains, who was actually decent when it came to singing. But I was like, when are they going to announce it? And of course, they wait to the very end. And it's like, okay, we're going to go live no matter what. No, I don't know how late it is. We're going live here on the sports web. And going back to Philly and how much domination that team, and remember, that was the team that Tony Dungy lost to and eventually lost his job because they could not do anything at the end of the day. Tell you what, man, I'm going to go out to the phone lines here. Let me put you on hold because we got a special guest here. Stand by, all right?
10-4.
All right, stand by. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Mr. Buzz.
Mr. Buzz, Mr. Rick Brown, your thoughts on Ronde Barber finally getting into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Welcome to the Sports Web, my old friend.
What's happening, buddy?
Nothing much,
Hey,
man. Just pumped up about this whole thing going on with Ronde Barber.
You know, hey, big shout out to Ronde Barber. Hell of a career, even a better guy. I really enjoyed covering him. And I know receivers did not like him out there because he always made plays. That's one thing he did. Always made plays. He didn't talk too much. He just battled. It didn't matter where you put him. He started off slow in his career. Everyone wondered if he was the third round bust. And now he has a bust. How about that?
That's amazing. That's great stuff there by Mr. Buzz. Rick Brown, former Lakeland Ledger, of course, covered the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for how many years now, Rick?
9 years doing that. But before, Pete, Polk County, stand up.
Yes, there you go. That's what I'm talking about. Yes.
Ken Riley is now in the Hall of Fame.
Mm.
From Bartow, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
With the FAMU, but Cincinnati Bengals. 13 years with the Cincinnati Bengals, fifth in all-time interceptions to this day with 65. It's a travesty. He's just getting into the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
It's sad that he's not around to do it himself, but he is now in the Hall of Fame and deserves it. Congratulations, Coach Riley.
Absolutely. Congratulations to him also. Rick, I got to ask you, and once again, thanks a lot for showing up because it's been a long time no here, my friend. Never, ever be scared to call up or get on. We got to get you on video here. I love what you guys are doing there on YouTube. And, of course, always about the sports web here, Mr. Buzz. More buzz than the Charlotte Hornets, I guess, at the time. Now there's something different now. Still more buzz than the is it the Bobcats? I don't know what it is. I don't know what.
No, it doesn't matter. It
doesn't matter. Right? Exactly. It doesn't matter at all. With that being said, why do you think it took so long for Barber to get in? And was it fair to basically categorize him as a system corner? Because you look at these numbers, I just put it out there. He had more tackles, sacks, passes defensed, touchdowns, forced fumbles, fumble recoveries than Hall of Famer Ty Law. And yet still people will come out there and say Ty Law was a better corner. Why is that?
Well, one thing, and just like Coach Riley, Ronde didn't promote himself. Mm-hmm. It wasn't, he wasn't braggadocious. Now, he talked to the media, and he was always great with us.
Mm-hmm.
But he wasn't out there hot-stepping and dancing and prancing. He was just about winning. He was just about the team. And, yeah, people can say what they say. He's a system corner, and he just played in the slot, and he made plays. I can't say that enough. When a play needed to be made, he made it. And truth be told, to me, his interception for the touchdown to get the Bucs to the Super Bowl, well, to seal the deal, really, but that's the signature play of Bucs history.
Yeah.
And he, what can you said the sacks he tackled, he had interception. He was a complete corner.
Yeah.
He really was. The only thing he wasn't 6'4", 6'3", 6'4".
Yeah.
That was it. That's the only thing. But he had the heart of one. He had the heart of the lineman.
Yep.
And everyone on the team respected him. So
listen to these statistics. Barber has more tackles for loss, 88 all-time by defensive back in NFL history. His 1,251 total tackles are the most ever by cornerback in NFL history. So all you people out there saying Barber is a system corner, guess what? He played the system to a T. He's unbelievable. His 197 passes defense are the second most in NFL history behind your buddy there, Champ Bailey, former Washington corner, and of course, Denver Bronco. We're going to get on TJ Rives of the Buccaneer Radio Network. Give me some final thoughts here, Rick. And of course, never be a stranger here on the Evolution.
Oh, we all good, man. Final thought, congratulations. He deserved it. Congratulations to all.
Yes.
Revis Island, all of them.
Yes, yes.
The highest honors, but a Tampa Bay Bucs fan, stick your chest out. You should be proud.
There you go, Mr. Rick Brown, Mr. Buzz himself making another appearance or another return, if you will, to the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Thanks a lot for your time, my friend, and we'll see you soon, all right?
Peace.
All right, good stuff there, Rick Brown, former Lakeland Ledger writer. Let's go out to this man right here who would know all too well about what happened 92 yards. I love when he tells the story. He can tell it 100 times, and I never get tired of it. It's Mr. TJ Rives, a Tampa Bay broadcasting legend in his own right here. Welcome to the Evolution, my friend. How you doing tonight?
What a night. They just concluded it, and all the awards being handed out, and obviously we're biased, but man, Ronde Barber now completes the set almost. I mean, you're talking about all-time stuff now where we got the privilege, Peter, you know this, and for the audience that's seeing this, of watching 4 Hall of Fame defenders on the same defense at the same time, obviously, with Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, John Lynch, and Ronde Barber. And you can throw in the 5th Hall of Famer is Tony Dungy, the head coach.
Yeah.
It's incredible. When you talk about one defense and how good it was, now the NFL and the legendary Pro Football Hall of Fame has spoken, Peter, about how legendary it was. I am so thrilled for Ronde, as Rick Brown was saying. What a joy to cover him, especially in tough times and after losses, which wasn't all that often. What a class act to stand and talk to you. Community-oriented even to this day. More than a decade after his playing career, still loves the Tampa Bay area, gives back to the Tampa Bay area of his time, of his talents, of his resources. Have so much love for that family, and it has finally happened for him after being a finalist, 4 or 5 times. John Lynch had to wait like 8 or 9 times. Now Ronde had to wait 4 or 5 times himself.
Yeah.
But finally he is headed to Canton. What a night. What a story. We'll tell some Ronde Barber stories, but Buccaneer fans, you need to savor this. I know there are a lot of newer, younger Buccaneer fans that maybe, don't appreciate what went on even prior to the Dungy days. When you go back to the McKay days and going worst to first, and Leroy Selman was behind that, and so was Doug Williams, and so was James Wilder, and those players then you had such a Sahara Desert dry period, Peter, as you know.
Yes.
At the time you were becoming a Buccaneer fan, where you weren't sure if they were ever going to be any good again, ever have a winning season again. And it turned around on the backs of Sapp and Brooks and Lynch and Barber and Allstott and all of those guys, Warwick Dunn, I'll leave somebody out, Hardy Nickerson, Shelton Quarles, those guys turned it all around. Simeon Rice, everybody that was involved. I mean, it was it all turned around in the late 90s and the early 2000s, and you end up winning a Super Bowl. And now we can sit and say that we watched 4 Hall of Fame players week in and week out on the Buccaneer defense. It's incredible.
I'll tell you right now, if you had an offense, if you had a quarterback at the end of the day, you most likely would be considered, and I still think they're considered as the greatest defense of all time with the longevity of it, with the stars, what they did at the time. Nobody could figure out that Tampa 2 defense. Just imagine, TJ, if you had an offense, a quarterback, you'd probably be talking about the Steel Curtain at the end of the day, but that's neither here nor there. I asked Rick this. Why do you think it took so long for Ronde to get in?
Well, those are always interesting questions. And part of it is who else is there on the ballot that may be an overwhelming favorite as a first ballot person to get in. That's always a challenge. You've got people that are going to be detractors, not that they're saying the player's not any good. They just may be a detractor on, I don't believe he's a Hall of Famer. And they convince some of the others in the room that while he's a finalist, he's not a Hall of Famer. I mean, it took Art Monk to switch over to another fan base. I mean, the Redskins were ready to riot over Art Monk not getting there. It took Art Monk like nearly 15 years plus after his playing career. I think 20 years plus after his playing career that he finally got acknowledged. And you saw some guys even tonight that are no longer with us, that are deceased or what have you, that aren't physically able to be there because it's 30, 40 years after their career, and now they're finally being recognized. So while we think, on the one hand, man, it took a long time, when you start comparing to people like Chuck Howley that played football 45 or 50 years ago in Dallas, and the Veterans Committee put him in, and Anthony Munoz was recognizing his Cincinnati teammate. Forgive me the name off the top of my head. I think it's Ken Riley.
And Riley, Rick Brown was just talking about. By the way,
40 years ago. It's 40 years ago, Peter.
How many former Tampa Bay Buccaneers were on that stage tonight?
True, because Anthony Munoz was there briefly as well as a former Buccaneer, along with Derek Brooks. And was Ken Riley also a Buccaneer at one point too?
You had Munoz.
Yeah.
You had TJ Rives. You had Derek Brooks. And you had Ronde Barber. You had 4 Tampa Bay Buccaneers on that stage tonight. 4.
Yeah. So what an honor for him to get to be part of that, and for Brooks in that moment to get to be the one to introduce him. Because again, these guys laid the foundation and the culture for the Buccaneers turning around. Sapp, Brooks, John Lynch was here first. Hardy Nickerson was also there first before Sapp and Brooks, and then Ronde came after that. And it's interesting because I was talking to the unofficial historian Paul Stewart tonight about this and about Ronde Barber. And he said, people have to remember, and Ronde's the first one to admit this, he went to the bench his rookie season. They thought he was going to be, and Rick may have talked about this, I didn't get to hear the whole conversation. They thought he was going to be a guy that could start and could help them immediately. And it was obvious immediately in his first season in 1997 that he was struggling in the NFL. He went to the bench never to return. And there was some concern as to whether he was even going to stick with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for year 2. I'd say he stuck.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you? I'd say it worked out well after that. The light went on. He was motivated. It was a great defense around him. And what a career. We kept saying that while he didn't play in New York or Chicago or, the biggest names of the Patriots, the Packers, the Steelers, that there's only one player in the history of the NFL to date, even 10 years after he last played, one corner, one player that has 25 or more sacks and 40 or more, and in his case, it's 45 or more interceptions in a career. There's one player. It's Ronde Barber, and he's in the Hall of Fame, Peter.
We got TJ Rives of the Buccaneer Radio Network. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Only 3 players in NFL history have more non-offensive touchdowns in their careers. Hall of Famer Deion Sanders, Hall of Famer Rod Woodson, and fellow Hall of Fame finalist Devin Hester, which I think will get in eventually. So, and then also I mentioned this in 2001, Barber led the NFL with 10 interceptions. It took 20 years, TJ, for that mark to be matched by Trayvon Diggs, and yet still blasphemy, if you will, as Stephen A. Smith would say, on how people disrespect him and say he's just a system corner. So was Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice was a system wide receiver in one of the best West Coast offenses of all time. Joe Montana was a system quarterback. Ask Bill Walsh. That's the reason why they drafted him and created the West Coast offense. So enough with the nonsense. With that being said, Simeon Rice, does he belong in the Hall of Fame? Make it 5 here.
It's a great argument for Simeon Rice as part of those teams. Yes, I would say as far as an influential pass rusher. Now, what the Hall of Fame voters would say is, how does he stack up against Lawrence Taylor rushing the quarterback, or Bruce Smith all time? And I'm going to probably leave somebody out in the present day because it's late at night. But all these different guys pass rushing the quarterback, like Michael Strahan, et cetera, and getting all the sacks and the sack records. DeMarcus Ware went in tonight. Does Simeon Rice stack up with DeMarcus Ware? I say every bit.
Yes.
DeMarcus Ware played for the Dallas Cowboys, so that helped him. DeMarcus Ware doesn't have a ring, by the way. Simeon Rice has got a ring, and he played fantastic in those playoffs and in that Super Bowl. So I'm going to give some love to Planet Simeon on that. So deserve it as well. And I'm not so sure that Hardy Nickerson doesn't deserve some attention for the Hall of Fame. May not get there. You mentioned, Steeler fans will fight you that Steel Curtain defense is the greatest defense of all time. 4 Super Bowl wins in 6 years. Remember that Buccaneer nucleus we're talking about only got one before they all broke apart and went to different places, with the exception of Ronde and Derek Brooks. They stayed together, but Sapp went elsewhere. Lynch went elsewhere. Simeon Rice actually went elsewhere when the Bucs moved on. Hardy Nickerson went elsewhere. But still, it's I cannot get over the fact that other than that Steel Curtain, somebody off the top of your head, name me another defense that in its prime had 4 Hall of Fame players in the modern era of football. It's incredible what we're now talking. It's the Buccaneers.
I know.
We're talking about.
It's supposedly the losingest franchise of all time. It's an embarrassment of an organization, and yet now you have 5 Hall of Famers, count them 5, Leroy Selman, Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, John Lynch, Ronde Barber. You gotta love that. All right, so with that being said, Barber also played 16 seasons in the NFL, still holds the NFL record for consecutive starts by a cornerback with 209, and also defensive back with 224, which is amazing in itself. I think I agree with you with Hardy Nickerson. I don't think he gets enough pub. And remember, he was a guy that came over from the Steelers and really started this transition, if you will. And people were laughing, Sam Weiss days, stuff like that. But free agents didn't come over to Tampa Bay. That's
exactly right.
Cheap franchise. You got Hardy Nickerson. You got Thomas Everett, if I can remember, from the Cowboys. Alvin Harper.
Right.
But Nickerson was the one that started this whole transition of saying, hey, the Bucs may be onto something. Hey, Tampa Bay, there's a new day in Tampa Bay, going back to the Sam Weiss days in 1995. So I definitely think Nickerson absolutely deserves some recognition. He would knock your head off. He would not fit in today's NFL because he was one of the hardest hitting linebackers of all time. And he could also cover. And you had to cover in that Tampa 2. You had to be athletic because the Tampa 2 all too well. That linebacker has to get deep enough. He has to be athletic enough. You cut off the deep. You put everything in front of you, and then you take your chances. And, of course, you get that pressure from within.
Here's the important thing. You listen to Derek Brooks. You listen to Warren Sapp. You listen to John Lynch. They will tell you right now, if they were here, who was the catalyst to change that culture. It was Hardy Nickerson. Hardy Nickerson set the example of the way that we've been doing this isn't acceptable anymore. The way this organization has been doing this, the commitment. Hardy Nickerson was the one there at 6 a.m. every day during the season, watching film and saying to a young Derek Brooks, this is how you get better. This is how you win in the NFL. This is how you go to the playoffs. This is how you make the Pro Bowl. You're here at 6 a.m. in the film room. You're in the weight room an extra 30 minutes. You're on the practice field an extra 30 minutes. This is how you win. And so they swear by Hardy Nickerson helping change that culture along with Tony Dungy. So love for hardware. A couple of other things about Ronde. You're mentioning the 14 touchdowns, the 14 non-offensive touchdowns. And what did you say, the third most in NFL history? It is the most in Buccaneer history.
Yeah.
Nobody else has 14 non-offensive touchdowns, and I don't think anybody else has 10, and nobody else may have 8 in their career now that we're talking about. Non-offensive touchdowns. What did you say? Dion, you said Devin Hester.
Yeah, Devin Hester, Rod Woodson, who was great in his own right there, of course, a part of the Baltimore defense, which was on 30 for 30 the other night. The Bullies of Baltimore with Ray Lewis. Sanders, Woodson, Devin Hester, and Ronde Barber. And
keep in mind, out of that group,
Yeah.
Woodson was more of the DB and not so much of a kick returner.
Right.
Dion was the DB, but was also an electric kickoff and punt returner. And Devin Hester was only a kickoff and punt returner. And Ronde Barber rarely, if ever, returned a punt or a kickoff. He does have a punt return touchdown as one of them, but it's not like he was regularly returning punts. Ronde scored 5 different ways on blocked field goal, blocked punt, interception return, fumble return, and I think punt return is the other one. 1 punt return, 14 of those touchdowns, remarkable longevity. And again, stick your nose in and make tackles and make plays. As great as Deion Sanders was, Deion Sanders is not going to get 10 sacks in his career, much less 20 sacks in his career. I mean, Deion's not sticking his nose in to make any tackle, and he'd have to be the first one to admit that when you're comparing them. Darrelle Revis, I don't even know. Without looking, Darrelle Revis doesn't have 10 sacks in his career because Revis's thing was cover corner, right? If we looked it up.
Yeah.
And Ronde would blitz off the edge or off the slot and would go make plays, and it's astounding what he was able to stack up and finally got that recognition tonight, Peter.
He was the perfect Tony Dungy corner because not only did you have to cover with the zone and you had to be smart and instinctive because you're playing the slot, but also in the run, you had to come up and play the run. And that's what a lot of people talked about when Simeon Rice got picked up. Could Simeon Rice, because he was one-dimensional, could he play the run? And I remember talking to Sheldon Quarles that year and telling me he better play the run because that's what we pride ourselves on. They pride themselves on stopping the run. Kind of sounds familiar with the 2020 Buccaneer defense. That's how you got to do it. And Ronde Barber would not only cover and make plays, but he'd come up and stick you. And like you said, they would use him as a weapon with blitzing him on the outside. And he was that instinctive and that athletic to get after the quarterback and make things happen. He did it to Donovan McNabb over again. And I think it goes back to 2006, right? Bucs not having a good year. He has that, I believe he had 2 interceptions in the game, 2 touchdowns. And, of course, it sets up the 62-yard field goal by Matt Bryan, if I'm not correct about that.
No, you're correct.
He was always a thorn in the side of Donovan McNabb. He was in that game, and it's just an unbelievable career. Some of the plays he made, I mean, he was a playmaker, and that's
so you love the stories. You want me to tell the story again about the 92-yard interception return? Okay, so everybody's got to where they were and what they were doing and what they were up to. I was not on the game broadcast at that time. I did the pregame show on the radio network for that NFC Championship game and for that weekend. So I was not in Philadelphia. I was here. So did the pregame, and I come back home. Now, I had already lined up a flight to be able to get to San Diego, and at that time I was doing the University of South Florida, USF, the Bulls here in Tampa Bay. They're basketball on the radio. They were going to be playing a conference game in Greenville, North Carolina, of all places, at East Carolina. So geographically, without a map, Greenville, North Carolina is over here, and you got to get all the way to San Diego from a Saturday night in Greenville, North Carolina for Super Bowl Sunday, all the way on the other side of the continent. All right, I'm at home with the wife. We all know where we were watching it. When Ronde Barber picked that ball off and was racing down the sideline, I am on the phone. Before he was in the end zone, Peter, I have the phone, and I am calling to confirm the flight that I'm going to fly from Raleigh, North Carolina, because you weren't flying from Greenville to San Diego, through Atlanta to San Diego. He was not off the field yet, and I'm confirming the flight with Delta. I had gotten through and got the flight and got it taken care of. And I still remember telling him after that you just made the iconic play probably in the history of the franchise, that 5 years from now, 15 years from now, 25 years from now, they're going to be talking about that interception return to close down Veterans Stadium. Are you kidding me?
Yes.
And he looked at me And he said, "You really think so?" And I said, "I know so. I'm just telling you that 10 years from now, they're going to be talking about that play." Peter Blake,
Yes.
we are 20 years on. It's been 20 years.
Yeah.
And we are still talking about Ronde Barber to the house to close down Veteran Stadium. And here's to talking about it for 20 more years. And God willing, if we're all alive, 25, 30, 40 more years, because Ronde is in the Hall of Fame. And that is still the iconic play in Buccaneer history. You can talk about Super Bowl wins. Yes, Brady being with the team now, present day. But if you're thinking of a single play, a single moment, I submit it's Ronde Barber on the pick six to ice the NFC Championship game and go to the Super Bowl for the first time. And now we say it with pride, Hall of Famer Ronde Barber with that pick six.
It's a beautiful saying. And I tell you right now, you go back to Tampa Bay sports history. I think that one is probably better than Marty St. Louis in Calgary in game 6. And I also think it's probably better than the Rays going to the World Series there the first time with Aki,
right,
second base, and David Price trying to save the game when they beat the Red Sox. There have been so many moments lately, right? But that still, to me, reigns king. Good stuff. TJ Rives. I know where I was at the time. I was running out of my house down the street. You were on the phone. I was running out of my house like a madman. And I always tell this story because I grew up as a Bucs fan ever since I was 8 years old. I'm listening to Gene Deckerhoff, Jesse Ventura that first year as being an analyst. And I wore an orange Buccaneer jacket. It's now signed by Paul Gruber. When I was in 7th grade at Bayonet Point Middle School here in Newport Richey, somebody decided to take a lighter and burn a hole into that jacket because I used to wear it no matter, and they lost a lot, and it didn't matter. I wore it every day because I was a Bucs fan. I was looking for that guy who burned that hole in my jacket. I wore that jacket proudly that night. I was looking for that guy that night after the Bucs were going to the Super Bowl. And you knew once they got over on the Philadelphia Eagles because they struggled so much. And look, the game didn't start out great. Right? I mean, they go down, they score a touchdown, they get a long return by Brian Mitchell. They go in with Deuce
Staley.
You're up 7-0. You're like, oh my God, not again. Then Joe Jaravicius, and then it just everything.
And the defense. And let us not forget the defense, because Ronde had a sack fumble in that game, by the way, on Donovan McNabb, blitzing off the edge, and the Bucs recovered the fumble. Before the interception ever happens. The defense really put it on the Eagles and held them to 3 points for the rest of the game, including the pick six, icing it to make the game 27-10. And the defense was the story the next week. It wasn't 2 weeks later. It was the next week against the Raiders, where they stuffed Rich Gannon and the number one offense in the NFL in a dumpster and sealed the lid. And he was no factor. He threw 5 interceptions in the game. 3 of them returned for touchdowns. Jerry Rice, no factor. Tim Brown was on that Hall of Fame stage tonight. He was in witness protection as well that night at Super Bowl 37 for the Raiders. And it was the Buccaneer defense.
That's 5 Buccaneers because
Tim Brown
had a cup of coffee. That's amazing in itself. And you're exactly right. And Jerry Rice, I believe, didn't have a catch until late in the 3rd quarter. And
That's correct.
Jerry was still getting it. He was still getting it done at the time, but that defense was so dominant.
They were all over it that night. And Gannon, as the game went on, became deer in the headlights with the throws, and they were phenomenal. I mean, that was the bookend of what started in 1997. Barber's first year, when the team turned it around. Barber didn't play, but that nucleus of Sapp and Brooks, and you mentioned Brad Culpepper and Hardy Nickerson and those different guys, they got it done, got to the playoffs, won a playoff game, and it continued into 99 when Barber was then playing as a cover corner, where you got all the way to the NFC title game with the Rams, only to have Kurt Warner, who was on that stage tonight, giving out the NFL MVP, break the Buccaneers' heart with a touchdown in the final 2 minutes, or else you're in the Super Bowl in 99. But you end up getting into the Super Bowl in 2002 and winning it, and that was really the culmination of about 5 or 6 years of amazing defense by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And again, I can't get over it. I cannot overstate it that we were privileged. That's the word. We were privileged now to have watched 4 Hall of Famers The Tampa Bay Buccaneers had one Hall of Famer in their history in Leroy Selman up until like the 2010s.
Amazing.
And now you're talking about 4 more off the same defense and the coach and Tony Dungy as well. 5 total off of those late 90s Buccaneers.
How proud do you think Tony Dungy and, of course, Monty Kiffin are of this accomplishment by Barber, Lynch, and all these players that got into the Hall of Fame? How proud do you think they are?
I mean, it is all-time stuff. This is what you do. This is you make careers as coaches. You want to sit back and have an imprint on the game and a legacy on the game. Do you think that Tony Dungy and Monty Kiffin have an imprint and a legacy?
Oh, yeah.
On the Tampa Bay Buccaneers forever?
Oh, yeah.
With that defense? So, and now with these guys going to the Hall of Fame? So, it's just neat. It's neat. And again, I have great affection for the Barber family as I've gotten to know Tiki a lot better. I mean, the most interesting thing, I've gotten to know Tiki working with him college football Saturdays the last 3 years. I knew Tiki before that. I knew him some. But it is amazing how much they are alike. They're identical twins. And for the audience on the sports web, I have identical twins as well. Mm-hmm. I have twin daughters who are now about to be 15 years old later this summer. Scary. They're identical. They're alike in so many ways. So I've been around Tiki so much. And the thing I keep coming back to is I was around Ronde forever, for years and years and years before being around Tiki. How much they're alike. How much they walk alike. They talk alike. Delivery-wise, you almost have to remind yourself that's not Ronde, this is Tiki, or that's not Tiki, this is Ronde when you're around him. So I know Tiki is thrilled as well. He is out in Arizona doing work duty for WFAN and CBS, and obviously the Barbers had an inkling this could happen. So he's out there as well. So this is just neat for that family, knowing them. Knowing their wives, knowing everybody around the Barbers. This is just a culmination for him. And he had to wait a little bit, but it's worth the wait. It's worth the wait now for Ronde Barber to be all-time next to Brooks and Sapp and Lynch and Tony Dungy in the Hall of Fame. Hello.
Amazing in itself. All right, I know we're talking about the Hall of Fame. I got to get your quick thoughts on this. Super Bowl 57. Who do you like and why, TJ Rives? And we'll get you out of here on that.
I look at it as a close game, and I mean, obviously, the Philadelphia Eagles have been dynamic. They can run the football. The pass rush has been tremendous, but I'm rolling with Patrick Mahomes. It took Tom Brady to derail Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. Now, Joe Burrow and the Bengals got him in the AFC title game last year. I don't know. I mean, it's the most scrutinized ankle in all of North America. How healthy is he? We won't know, especially in the second half when the painkillers and whatever else wear off. What's it look like in the second half of the game? But I'm going to roll with Mahomes and the Chiefs in a high-scoring game, something like 31-27 or 27-24. What happens if the Eagles are playing a close game, which they haven't played in the first 2 playoff games, and Patrick Mahomes has played one close postseason game after another? Andy Reid has coached one postseason close game after another, been in Super Bowls before, Mahomes in Super Bowls before. That's advantage Chiefs. I think they find a way. I think they get a second world title. Mahomes got that MVP tonight, and I think he's going to couple it with a Super Bowl win come Sunday night.
I'm surprised because I thought it was going to be Jalen Hurts, but he got hurt, and I definitely think he's the MVP of the Philadelphia Eagles at the end of the day. That turnaround has been amazing. Thank you very much, Mr. TJ Rives. Go ahead and promote yourself here on the Evolution of Sports Television.
I always love being with you. You can follow me as you see there on the screen here on the sports web. You can follow me at Bucs Sideline Guy. I'm up to a bunch. Lots of Buccaneer offseason will crank up with free agency and draft stuff. In the meantime, we've got boxing on the Big Fight Weekend website and podcast. We've got college basketball that I love going over. So I keep myself busy, but we dip in and out. You reached out to me previously. You reminded me again today, hey, if Ronde's in the Hall of Fame, can you jump on with me? It is my thrill and privilege to be on with you, to be talking about this tonight. Buck fans, you should know this. As much as Ronde Barber was a phenomenal, now Hall of Fame football player, he is equal to that off the air, off the mic, with how he treats people, including Peter Blake, with people that can't ever help him or do anything for him. I mean, you talk about the true measure of character. When somebody's going out of his way to be a nice guy, good guy, and help those that can't help him get anything out of life, that is what integrity is all about. Tony Dungy instilled that. Derek Brooks lived it, obviously. Lynch, Ronde Barber lived it. Hardy Nickerson lived it. Ronde is that good of a guy away from the playing field, away from the microphone. He would do whatever for you. So be thrilled for so many reasons for the football success, but be thrilled for the well-rounded individual that got in the Hall of Fame tonight. Congratulations, 2-0, Ronde Barber.
Yes, and I tell you right now, TJ Rives is the same way. He's in my Hall of Fame any day, every day of the week, of course. Guys, he's the natural lottery ticket, okay? He got me my first baseball game at an all-star game, winning it off his radio show about, 30 years ago?
Don't make me out to be that old, but it is. It's almost 30 years ago, I know.
And then this right here, the Rolex, which, by the way, there's a rumor that Jake Paul could be coming on this show very soon. In promoting his.
Are you breaking news to me? Jake Paul's fighting at the end of the month in Saudi Arabia. He's back in the ring. You got to be around him, and you got the Rolex when he fought in Tampa on the pay-per-view December 2021. Are you breaking news to me that Jake Paul may be on the show? I got to tune in. You got to let me know if that's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, you could definitely come on. You can ask some questions. I mean, we could definitely do it. You were there, and you couldn't believe it. And when it happened, Logan Paul is making a beeline to me, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I say,
this is really happening. I looked back over my shoulder to the audience on the sports web, and the clip of what we're talking about, you've got it in all your archives on YouTube. You've got it on your social media. But that really happened. Jake Paul looked at you and said, you want a Rolex? You said, sure. And the next thing I knew, his brother standing right next to you getting your information, and you've got the Rolex on your arm. You're the Rolex reporter. I love that. I love that about you.
Yes, sir. All right. Thanks a lot for the time. Appreciate you. All right, TJ Rives.
Hey, it's great to be with you. What a night. What a night for Ronde Barber and for the Buccaneers and for all time with these Hall of Famers. Thank you for letting me spend some time with you, my friend.
Absolutely. Anytime. TJ Rives of the Buccaneer Radio Network. Check out all his social media. Share and like, and he'll be a part of the sports web as always. Always welcome. Like I said, have a great night, my friend. All right?
All right. Be well.
All right, there you go. TJ Rives of the Buccaneer Radio Network. Open phone line. How do you follow that, right? All right, let's go out to Mr. Eric. Eric Moreno, welcome to the Evolution.
Ronde Barber, finally, I was holding out. I was like, oh, man, did they make the announcement yet? And then I check after work. I'm like, he finally got in.
Yeah, he finally got in, and I think there was some suspense because the last couple years here, he's been a finalist 3 times out of the 6 that he's been eligible. Yep. So, of course, there's been some disappointment. You're a Bucs fan. Give me your best memory of Ronde Barber besides the 92 yards. Or, I tell you what, give me the memory. Where were you at when Ronde Barber went to the house and closed down the vet?
Oh, shit. Damn, you put me on the spot, Peter.
Yeah, that's what I do here. Come on.
2001, right?
2002, 2003, into 2003 there.
Third grade maybe.
Third grade.
Second, yeah.
So you don't remember back that far, do you?
I mean, I have a pretty good memory. Really good memory.
Okay.
But yeah, I can watch a highlight all day, and closing down the vet. Yep.
Well, you need to definitely do the research there, my friend, because the Eagles were just absolutely killing the Bucs every year. The Bucs could not get over that proverbial hump.
Just like the Saints.
That's it. They were exactly.
And then we got them in the playoffs.
That's it. Same exact thing again. Besides the NFC Championship game, you're exactly right. All right, what else, Eric?
I got one more thing.
Yeah,
I was talking to my friend, really good, my best friend. He was like, "What if Brady just calls the Bucs and want to do one more year?" There's no way.
I don't think there's any way. I mean, I don't think they're going to close that door. We'll see what they do when it comes to the quarterback situation in the OC. But if he wants to come back, I don't think he's coming back. But if he decided to come back, I think the Bucs would be, definitely willing to. They would be open. With open arms, if you will, being able to welcome him back. Great stuff, Eric. I appreciate the call as always, my friend.
Oh, yeah.
Keep on calling. Use that second call, my friend, and keep on tuning into the Evolution, all right?
All right. Thanks, Peter. You're doing a great job, man.
Hey, man, thanks a lot. Appreciate you. You know, and that's the reason why I do a show like this for fans like that. Third grade. I put them on the spot. That's what I do here. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. The other number, if you can't get through, because we had a call, so I definitely want to get out to that, 727-409-7528. It's 727-409-7528. So let's call this person back, see who this is. I know this is not a telemarketer, but who knows? We'll call them back here because they called the show. I definitely want to get what they have to say here. It's probably going to go to the answer machine, right? This is how it goes here on this show right now.
Hey, dude.
Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from? Welcome to the Sports
It's
Club.
Cole, calling from Lakeland.
What's going on, Cole? Your thoughts on Ronde Barber finally getting into the Pro Football Hall of Fame? Go, my friend.
Well, I think it's about time, first of all. And I just wanted to call and give you my memory for Ronde Barber, where I was at the interception. Well, it was the NFC Championship game, and I was watching it with my friend Glenn, who I had season tickets with. Mm-hmm. From 97 to 2007. So we sat and watched the whole thing go down. And then when they're about to score here. I mean, they're moving. Philadelphia is, and they're about to score. And then Ronde picked that ball off, and about the 50-yard line, we knew he was going to go straight into the end zone. And we started screaming and jumping up and down, and his toddlers, who are now 20-somethings, had woken up. We're woken up, and we're screaming and jumping up and down. We're going to the Super Bowl. We're going to the Super Bowl. And his wife is yelling at us like, no, the kids are asleep and whatnot. And so he's like, okay, well, I'm too hyped. What are we going to do? You want to go down to the stadium? So we drove from Brandon, from Seffner, all the way down to the stadium to see them come in after the game. And I remember that because I remember looking at him when we're watching these buses go by, and I remember thinking, man, I wish my dad was here, because he had passed away in March of that year. And one of the last conversations I had with him was when Gruden became the coach. He's like, well, what do you think? Gruden's going to be the coach. I said, well, I think we're going to go to the Super Bowl this year. Yeah, I think he's going to be great. I think we're going to go to the Super Bowl this year.
And I think that was the expectation, right, when it started out. And everybody was disappointed about Tony Dungy because he built a culture. He brought this team back from the doldrums. He built this defense. And then when he got fired, there was big-time question marks on who was going to be the coach. And even then, with John Gruden, you saw that first game versus the Saints. You saw some of the struggles at the beginning of the year with this offense. And, of course, Brad Johnson
interception by the punter in overtime. Right. I remember that game, and it was just amazing. I was like, I can't believe
not again.
We just lost this game.
Right, not again. I mean, exactly the same thing. And the same thing happened during the season, because you remember the Bucs were playing well, and I believe it was Sapp that went out of the game, or Brooks that went out of the game.
One play. Sapp went out of the game for one play.
Correct.
Because of some helmet issue or equipment issue. He went out for one play, or he was down in the injury situation. He had to leave for one play, and that was the play where they scored the touchdown. But I will never forget in the highlight reel in the season ending highlight reel, they mic'd up Derek Brooks, and he said, ha, we got you. One of the Philadelphia, and he goes, don't worry, we'll be back.
We'll be back. Yep.
And I'll never forget that. As long as I was like, whoa, that's cool. And then that was, they lost to the Saints twice.
Yep.
And then they lost to Pittsburgh on Monday night. It's the only game I ever left early. They lost to Pittsburgh on Monday night. They got killed. Yep. And that was the last game they lost all year long.
Yep, you're exactly right. And in that game, Brad Johnson took a hit to his back and his ribs. I think he suffered a back injury, rib injury at the time. So there was question marks, and he had the greatness of Rob Johnson coming in, and that wasn't necessarily
against the Bears.
Right.
Yeah, that game. And then you have the greatness that is that Joe Jurevicius in the NFC Championship game with his son. That whole story, the backdrop of it, and having his son lived for a certain amount of time, and I don't know if he had passed away just that week or not, but I mean
didn't pass away that week. It was in critical
he was
condition,
born that week,
right? And eventually he did pass away. But Joe definitely changed the complexion of the game with the 71-yarder, because at that point the Eagles were dominating, and they were dominant. And I remember the series that you watched on NFL Network, and they showed it because Sapp talked about it. He said he talked to Gruden. Gruden said, I got him. I know everything they're doing. We're going to go back there. If we got an opportunity to go back there, we're going to beat them. And sure enough, and I think all Bucs fans at that point were like, whoosh, because at that juncture, when Barber went in for the 92 yards, you knew that they were going to beat the Raiders. You just knew it. They could never beat the Eagles. The Eagles would have their number. But again, once
they had lost to the Eagles for 2 straight years before that. That's why Dungy got fired.
Yes.
That's why Dungy got fired, because he couldn't get past the Eagles.
Right. And he didn't have an offense enough.
And here we are with Gruden the next year, and we're in the NFC Championship game. And of course, like you said, it had started off bad. So, oh, man, we finally get to the NFC Championship game, and we're going to lose this because, even with Gruden. And then Juravicius had that long touchdown, and it was amazing. And I tell you, I love that year. Because Allstott was on that team. There was such great players on that team, and I'll just never forget those memories. And Ronde Barber is right there with him. And my question to you, Peter, is there going to be a 5th player? When is Simeon Rice going to possibly get into the Hall of Fame?
As soon as possible, because anybody that says, look, he was a one-dimensional player, once again, that trait that he displayed and that he excelled in, going over 100 sacks in his career, is getting after the passer, which is so valuable these days. That's why they're paying those type of players $15 to $20 million. Those guys don't grow on trees. Simeon Rice is definitely a Hall of Fame player. So I would say in the next couple of years, I'm hoping that the NFL smartens up here and says, you know what, Simeon Rice, and I'll tell you right now, Ira Kaufman, a hell of a job, my friend. You've been criticized by a lot of Bucs fans out there, but hell of a job getting all these Buccaneers into the Hall of Fame. Your next assignment, if you choose to accept it, and we've had Ira on this show before, is Simeon Rice. Cole, CSB brother, thanks a lot for calling the evolution of sports talk television, my friend. All right.
Take care, Peter.
All right. Appreciate you. Let me give me the Macho Man.
Yeah.
Let's go out to Curtis. Curtis, welcome to the evolution. Ronde Barber is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Your thoughts, my friend? Oh, and he hung up. So there you go. That's how we're doing the show tonight. So we'll give him a call back. Everybody wants to call back and talk about the breaking news of the night, and you should. Mr. Curtis, welcome to the evolution. Your thoughts on Ronde Barber making the Hall of Fame? Go.
It's about effing time.
Right. Say it proud, my friend. Say it loud.
It's about effing time.
Yes. So tell me where you were. What's your best memory of Ronde Barber? And tell me where you were when the 92-yard play happened.
I was in jail.
Wow.
Yep.
Yikes.
But the guy who was on staff that night, I was like 16 years old.
Okay.
The guy who was on staff was the biggest Bucs fan in the world. And it was funny because usually it was lights out by that time.
Sure.
But anybody who was a Bucs fan and could name like 10 Bucs players could stay up and watch the game.
Wow. Wow. Well, I tell you right now, you overcame that, my friend, and you got a chance to watch that. And I don't know what it's like in there, but I guarantee you were excited.
I was out for the Super Bowl.
Okay. Well, good.
And I'm gonna tell you something.
Yeah.
My honest opinion, half of that Super Bowl defense deserved to be in the Hall of Fame.
Agree.
And I want to give an honorary Hall of Fame to Mike Allstott because that guy was Tampa Bay.
Oh my gosh. You know that you had those years where you barely scored points and you had the WD-40, right? Work done and Mike Allstott. And Allstott was that attitude because you knew if this offense had the lead, the defense wasn't giving it up. But you know who the closer on that team was? That jersey right there, Mr. Mike Allstott. Yep. Game, set, match. When he got the ball, Allstott up the gut.
that number 99, that number 55,
Yep.
that 28, and that 40,
Mm.
and 47. Those were the 5 numbers
Yep.
that people were rocking back then. And, you know, we loved Simeon Rice. We loved Booger McFarland. And we even loved Ronde. But that 28, that 40, that 99, that 55, and that 47 were the 5 jerseys that people were rocking back then.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then Simeon Rice came on later on. And of course, the rest was history.
Well, let's even go look at Booger McFarland. What's Booger's numbers?
Booger's good.
Booger had nice numbers.
He had some nice numbers. Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, that all I'm going to tell you is that Super Bowl team did not get the credit they deserved. And the only reason they didn't get the credit they deserved is that Bill Callahan, excuse my French, was a jackass and didn't change the offense.
Yeah, but you still got to go out and execute it. You know, I mean, and you can know all the plays you want to, but you still got to go out there and execute and play.
What I want people to understand is we beat a San Fran team that was dominating their division that year.
With by the way, former future quarterback at the time, Mr. Jeff Garcia, who took the Bucs to the playoffs in 2007 versus the New York Giants. And of course, the Giants went on to win the Super Bowl by beating Tom Brady and the undefeated New England Patriots. And you also had Owens at the time. You completely shut that offense down. Completely.
And we're not going to talk about all the ass whoopings that Philly was giving Tampa.
Oh,
could not. They listen. Let me tell you something. I watched America's game literally like 2 weeks ago. And like Sap said, I had a pit in my stomach of hatred for Philly. Anybody who was a Bucs fan did.
Sure.
Because as hard as we tried, we could not do anything with that effing team.
Nothing. And then you have the best wide receivers and the best offense, but for some reason they were the Achilles heel of that defense, whether it was injuries, and then offensively could absolutely do nothing against another Hall of Famer. And who's the safety there that I'm trying to think of at this point?
Dawkins.
Oh, Dawkins. Dawkins was a monster.
Weapon X.
Yep.
And listen, there's 2 plays from that Philly team, that Philly game. And, you know, we always will remember Ronde. But that Jerry Vicious crossing pattern.
71 yards, changed the complexion.
He ran, you could see he had never ran that hard in his life, bro.
Yeah.
And, you know, we all know what, you know, he had lost a child and everything he was going through. And just like, you know, listen, let me tell you something. That team overcame so much because guess what? We had got swept by the Saints that year. Pittsburgh had destroyed us that year.
Yes.
And there was a guy from Pittsburgh calling us the paper champs.
Yep. I'm trying to think. I think it was Flowers.
Flowers.
Yep. Never forget it. Yep.
And Philly beat the dog crap out of us in Philly in the regular season.
Yep. They did. And Johnson got hurt in that game. And of course, Sapp went out and then they had their, you know, they had their chances to beat them. They were playing well until they got hurt, and Philly won that game. But you know what? It was a sign of things to come because the Bucs at that point, the coaching staff figured it out. Hats off to Monty Kiffin too, man.
If you look at the 2 Super Bowl wins for Tampa, they are basically damn near the same. The
seasons are kind of the same, right? I mean, they deal with both adverse conditions.
But you got swept by the Saints.
Yep.
The Kansas City game was like, oh God, Jesus.
Yep.
Well, we're not even going to talk about the Bears game. With,
sure.
You know, Tom Brady holding up
with the 4. Yeah. Never forget it on Thursday Night Football. Terrible.
But, you know, we overcame so much, and it was good to see Vita leave. I mean, it was bad to see him leave early, but it was good to see him come back at the end of the season.
Of course, because that was the big-time key for that defense. And also, you look at the defense for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Booger McFarland was out of that season, and they had a replacement there. And you also had Greg Spires on the other side who doesn't get enough pub. But
now, I want to ask Pete, do you have your computer with you?
I do have my computer on with.
This is what I want to ask you.
Okay.
Now, I know the NFL awards that's coming up or whatever, NFL honors or whatever. The hell
came out tonight. That was tonight.
Okay, well, I missed it. I was at work. I don't care.
Okay.
Chris Godwin should have got comeback player of the year.
How is he not in that conversation? I love Geno Smith. I think he had a phenomenal year. I get it. Saquon Barkley. I don't know who the other candidate was. I think it was Nick Bosa.
Can you tell us Chris Godwin stats, please?
Over 100 receptions, was 104 receptions, over 1,000 yards. Yeah.
Coming off of an ACL.
Yes. And he's not even playing at 100%, and he still has 100
Coming
receptions.
Coming off of ACL in December.
Yeah.
Not September, not October.
Yeah.
End of December.
Right.
Right before the playoffs start.
Right.
Okay. I'm pretty sure the last person who did that was Adrian Peterson. And he won the MVP.
Yep.
2,000 yards receiving. I mean, rushing.
And I got some breaking news right now. According to Ira Kaufman, his Twitter feed, Ronde Barber has chosen his identical twin brother, Tiki, as his presenter in Canton this summer. That's from Ira Kaufman right there. So
I want to say this. I love Ronde, but God, it's such a slap in the face.
What's up?
With Tiki. I mean, listen, I love Tiki, and Tiki retired he retired just before the Giants won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but they're very close. I don't think it's a slap in the face. I think they're very, very close. And who knows? Tiki may get in there one of these days. He has some pretty good numbers. Of course, he had a fumbling problem, but he was able to overcome that.
After he overcame it, though, dude, he was great.
He's a monster. Both brothers are monsters.
Him and Jacobs. I was like, oh my God.
I remember. I definitely remember it. Yes.
He had that guy that Tampa had for a while. What was his name?
Derek Ward.
Derek Ward.
Mr. Kardashian there, who was going out with the Kardashian at the time. There you go. It's a Kardashian curse.
I'm super ecstatic for Ronde. And it's good to see that defense. We're just going to say this, and people don't give that defense enough credit. You know, they always talk about the 85 Bears.
Yep.
They always talk about the 2000 Ravens. They always talk about the Legion of Boom.
Sure.
This defense outscored.
Yes. From 97 on, like to 2007 or 2008, they were like top 5, top 10 consistently. Can you imagine, Curtis, if you had some semblance of offense? Leo Ward, at the end of the day, you probably would have had multiple championships.
You know what the bad part about it was?
Yeah.
I know we gave up a lot of first and second round picks for Gruden.
Sure.
But if we would have had a halfway decent GM, and Gruden didn't have
Bruce Allen,
Gruden didn't have this huge ego.
Mm-hmm.
We would have drafted better, and that team would have consistently been better.
Agree. And Gruden has never been a great draft guy ever. And Bruce Allen was, we know he was a right-hand man. And the worst thing about it was Rich McKay got ran out of here. Rich McKay definitely, and I saw this comment somewhere, he definitely deserves to be in the Ring of Honor because he is the architect of building this team. And I think Jason Light eventually will get in the way he built this team to be a Super Bowl contender. Good stuff, Curtis. Anything else?
You know what? I'm going to switch gears real quick.
Sure, go for it.
And I know we don't talk a lot of basketball on here.
We do when we can, and I know what you're going to talk about. Kevin Durant and that trade happening, going to Phoenix for 4 first-round draft picks. Right now, Phoenix is probably the most dangerous team in the Western Conference. You got Devin Booker, you got Ayton, and they're in there.
I've followed Kevin Durant since he left Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Texas.
Right.
I've always loved this guy. Now, a lot of people don't like Kevin Durant because they say he's an asshole. He is.
Right.
He's a top shelf asshole. He is. And I don't take it. But this guy can play the game.
Yes. Yes. And let's admit this, right? He was the best basketball player on that court when it came to Warriors versus the Cavaliers. He was better than LeBron. He was better than Stephon Curry. He was better than Klay Thompson. He was better than Draymond Green. He was better.
This Phoenix team is going scarier than Golden State.
If they can stay healthy, knock on wood with Chris Paul. That's the thing. Chris Paul's got to stay healthy to distribute the rock. If he can do that, the sky is the limit.
The other thing is, and I know I'm going to open a can of worms when I say this.
Don't say it.
What do you think I'm going to say?
If you say LeBron James is the greatest of all time, I'm hanging up on your ass.
LeBron James is not the greatest player.
Thank you.
I don't care if he broke Kareem's record. Let me tell you something. He could be the number 1 scorer the number one rebounder and the number one assister. He will never be the greatest of all time.
No, it's an unbelievable record that he broke. Of course, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's record the other night. I get why they stopped the game, but couldn't they stop the game if the Lakers were in it still? They were still trying to win it, and then he goes off.
This is what bothers me about people. I just got in an argument with the kid at work today.
Sure.
We went back and forth with the Jordan LeBron debate.
It's the generation. The generation has been corrupted to believe and brainwashed to believe that LeBron James is the greatest of all time. And these kids, they need to turn on like YouTube and turn on the old basketball games and watch the physicality of it.
This is what I told them.
Yeah.
The top 5 scorers of all time are LeBron, Kareem, Karl Malone. I believe Kobe's in the top 5. And Michael Jordan's number 5 now.
Sure.
Jordan is the only person that played 15. Everybody else played 20.
Right. He played less games than everybody else. And remember, he took off 2 years for retirement.
Well, wait, hold on. Also, early in his career, he missed the whole season with the Liz Frank injury.
Correct. Yeah.
The whole season.
Yeah.
And he came back from the Liz Frank and dropped 63 in the Garden.
Yes. Amazing, right? It's amazing. And still people.
I said, don't forget, he played 3 years of college basketball. So did Kareem.
And LeBron played none. Yeah, I get it. Definitely an advantage. Absolutely.
So I hate when people talk about. Listen, I don't take anything from LeBron. I personally don't really care for him because I think he's a crybaby. I really think he is. I used to didn't like Kobe because Kobe used to be a crybaby, and then Kobe stopped being a crybaby. I'm like, I love this guy. He started giving me that killer. I'm like, I love this guy. And LeBron can never be the greatest. He can never be the greatest of all time.
I agree. That's a great comment right there. That's a great call as always, my friend.
Oh, yeah.
Give you the Macho Man right there. Thanks a lot for your time, my friend, and use that second call if you want to, all right?
Let's go Philly.
Yeah, let's go Philly. All right, there you go. Good stuff. Curtis right there saying the Eagles. Let's read these comments. We'll continue to take your phone calls. Again, the breaking news of the night in case you missed it. Just tuning in. Ronde Barber has been elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He is made it, Bucs fans. You know what? Just for old time's sake, right? Come on. B-U-C-C-A-N-E-E-R-S. Go Bucs. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. All right, we'll read these comments here, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do here because some other things that came up today that I think we should cover besides the Hall of Fame, but I definitely want to focus on that. If you have a memory of Ronde Barber that you'd like to share, where were you when he made that iconic play, 92 yards to the house to close down the vet? 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Of course, 727-409-7528. Again, 727-409-7528. Congratulations, Ronde. Mike, again, I remember getting a picture of my Ronde jersey getting autographed by the man himself. Keep that because that's definitely worth something. Great memory.
Flawless victory.
Let's go on to SDS 4800. Ronde did it. He did it after years of being snubbed. He got in. Woo! There you go. All right, good stuff there. It's about damn time. Congratulations, Ronde.
Okay.
Let's go out to Roger Shue. How much did it cost him to get in? And for that, you get this.
This guy sucks.
Hall of Fame. Yes, I know what you're saying. I think you're more happy than Ronde, and I think you should.
That's good enough to suck right there.
Kenny says 806, sir. Zach Thomas, Hall of Fame. Absolutely, congratulations. Zach definitely deserved it. Undersized linebacker out of Texas Tech. Went to the Miami Dolphins. Jimmy Johnson introducing him. So good stuff.
Flawless victory.
Let's go out to Dave here. Finally, 4 members of that D are in the Hall of Fame. Let's go back out to Curtis. Curtis, using your second call. What do you have to say, my friend?
I can't help it. Listen, let me tell you, I want everybody to understand it. If they don't think Ronde's a Hall of Famer,
right?
Name me somebody else with the interceptions, the sacks, and the consistency.
Right.
of Ronde Barber.
That's not good. That's greatness, my friend. Consistency. That's greatness.
Mind you, what round did he go in?
Third round.
Third round.
Out of Virginia. Yeah.
Overlooked completely. He's too small. He's not fast.
Right. I was gonna tell TJ this. I thought it was kind of interesting, right? All the Bucs Hall of Famers from that defense. John Lynch, what did you start out as a Florida Marlin pitcher? Guy that's not fast, not overly athletic. A lot of teams out there wouldn't have him at first because he's too hard of a hitter. And what does he do? He excels at what he does. He makes game-clinching interceptions. Warren Sapp, all the drug allegations, of course, came up false, but he drops to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He didn't want to come here, but he embraced it. It was a new culture. He bought into it. And, of course, he was able to become a Hall of Famer. Derek Brooks.
Everybody on that team had heart.
Yes, exactly. Derek Brooks, undersized linebacker. Teams passed on him because they thought he was too small to play the position. The Bucs made it happen. Of course, all the teams out there are kicking themselves, namely the Dallas Cowboys, for making that trade. Thank you very much to America's team for making that trade at the time because, of course, the Bucs got Derek Brooks out of Florida State. Yes.
Can we stop calling them America's team?
Well, I just got to throw it out there. I mean, you had Kelly Clarkson come out there, and I don't know what the hell that was with that cowboy dress. Yeah.
Lately has been America's disappointment.
Yeah, America's disappointment, exactly. And then you got Ronde Barber, who's undersized, left for dead, basically. TJ said it best. He didn't even know if he was going to make the team or not or stick because he had such a rough beginning. Well, of course, it's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Now, we can't even forget you had Brian Kelly.
Yep.
He was great. Brian Kelly was great.
Dwight Smith. Yep.
Underlook Dwight Smith.
Dexter Jackson. Yeah.
Greg Spires. Shelton Quarles. Dexter Jackson.
It's a great defense. Yeah. It was a great defense, man. Al Singleton. People forget about him. He was also another linebacker that was athletic.
What was the guy that backed up John Lynch? Last name Howell.
John Howell. Yes.
John Howell.
Yes.
John Howell. He made big that season.
Yeah.
Coming in behind. Because I think Lynch missed the game or two.
He may have. I think you're right about that. Yeah.
So, I mean, dude, that team had so much heart. And listen, you got somebody like Sapp, who was the most outspoken, and put it out there, prick in the world.
Oh yeah.
And then you got Derek Brooks, who just goes out there and plays.
Yeah.
Doesn't say much, doesn't do too much. Him and Lynch
leads by example, but he is the Don in that locker room. I've heard this before, and my late co-host, Mr. Sean, the Sports Don, he loved Derek Brooks so much he made that his nickname. They used to talk about it all the time. He was the Don of that locker room. He didn't have to say much. You knew. He led by example. That's how he was always at Florida State. Led by example, making big plays on the spot.
I meant to ask you, are you a Florida State fan?
You know I am.
Now, me and my cousin, he's a huge Florida State fan. We had this conversation the other day. Brooks or Dion?
I always go with Brooks. I love Dion, but Brooks for me, and Brooks for me in college also, because all the plays that he made for Florida State at the time, wasn't he a part of that national championship team?
And he was great.
Yes.
He was great.
Yes. Yes, he was.
Always great.
Him and Warwick Dunn. Never forget Warwick Dunn his freshman year at the Swamp, 75 yards. In the heat of the moment and pressure, you're like, oh, this kid may be small, but there's something about this kid. And then the story about him taking care of his siblings after his mom was shot in the line of duty. And then the man that he became, giving, underprivileged families homes off the field. Amazing.
How about owning a part of the Atlanta Falcons?
Yeah, I know. I should have never let him go. Honestly, should have never let him go. They should have figured out. I love Michael Pittman, but they should have figured out how they could keep him in the fold, get him a Super Bowl.
And then here's my other thing.
Yeah.
And I know we're backtracking, but
it's all right.
When I watched Dalvin Cook, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And we picked from that guy. I'm like, we're making such a huge one.
I know.
He was literally Warwick Dunn a little bit better.
I know.
He was.
I remember. I've said it on this show many a times. I'm not going to go back through it again. It pisses me off still to this day in 2017. And I was told, well, you don't draft a running back in the first round. Really? Not at 19? You draft a tight end instead? Okay. All right.
What didn't he play for the Texans last year?
Yeah, exactly. All right, man. We got to run. Thanks a lot for the call, Curtis. Appreciate you. All right, my friend. All right, let's go out to the tribal troll here.
Acknowledge me.
Mr. Roger Shue, what do you have to say about Ronde Barber?
Acknowledge me.
I already acknowledged
you. Congratulations to TJ Barber for making the Hall of Fame.
It's not TJ Barber. You're a jerk.
That's good enough to suck right there.
You're a jerk.
This guy sucks.
Ronde Barber. Go ahead.
Whatever. Same guy.
It's Ronde Barber. Just say it. Ronde Barber.
Yeah, Ronde Barber.
Okay,
yeah,
there you go. There you go.
Flawless. Did I get the right one? There's like two or three of them. I don't know.
There's two or three of them because you drank so much tonight. Be honest.
I get confused.
I get it. That's what happens when you
Tiki, Freddie, Tommy. There's a couple of them.
When you get older, that's what happens. You get selective amnesia.
So anyway, yeah, congrats to Ronde. Great. It took longer than it should have.
Right, I agree.
But yeah, I remember that. I remember that 92 yards to the house.
92 yards to the house, a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I was sitting right in the exact same position I'm sitting right now. I'm in my room watching TV. I remember it like yesterday. I can't believe it's been 20 years.
It is crazy, right? It is absolutely crazy and nuts that that's,
Peter, how old are we? My God.
I'm 44, my friend. So I'm not getting any
younger.
younger.
I got you by a few, but it's crazy to believe. To believe it's been 20 years.
It absolutely is crazy, my friend. What else?
What are your thoughts? Give me a thought on Devin Hester going in the Hall of Fame.
I think
he
should have been in the Hall of Fame. He didn't get picked tonight, did he?
Not that I know of.
Did not get selected. I'll tell you what. Hold on a minute. I'm going to go ahead and go out to this Devin Hester clip really quick. You stay on the phone here. Stand by. Here we go.
Here.
Devin Hester. Do you belong in the Hall of Fame for your kick returning abilities? Look, I already know it. Just sell them on it. Tell them. Absolutely. All right, so there you go. It was a slap in the face tonight because I definitely feel like he should be in the Hall of Fame. Eventually will make it. It's long overdue. He changed the game, and I think that's the reason why the NFL came out with new rules for the kicking game because of Hester making so many plays.
Absolutely did.
It's amazing. So I don't know why he's not in the Hall of Fame yet, but I think he'll definitely get there, and you heard from him. It's a slap in the face, and hopefully Devin will get there next year. We'll have something to definitely talk about. What else?
Absolutely. That's about it, man. It's been a great show.
Thank you.
I think you did a great job. It's always great to hear TJ. You know, he brings a lot to the show.
Yes, he does. He's great.
When are we going back to Whiskey Wings, man? Where's the Greek?
I don't know. We'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens with Whiskey Wings. I love it out there.
Greek's bedtime.
Well, Greek's not here. He's probably sleeping at this point.
Yeah, so, it's probably past the Greek's bedtime.
It is definitely, Roger. All right, my friend.
Right,
Good
I'll
stuff.
Let you go.
All right.
And great show. And I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right. Thanks a lot. There you go. The tribal troll from
Acknowledge me.
Actually, Holiday right down the street from me there. Open phone line 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Again, 727-409-7528. It's 727-409-7528. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Let's go ahead and read more of these comments. Everyone is going to remember the pick six in Philadelphia, but I remember when he picked Favre with a broken hand. That's a good memory. Good comment as always.
Yeah.
Roger says that D was good, but not like the 85 Bears. You know, we'll agree to disagree, although the Bears will always get that credit at the end of the day. Yes, Rice, I said the same thing. Christopher Cole, it llooks like we're riding with Trask this year. If you read between the lines of the comments, of BA. We will definitely get back to that in a moment. Let's continue to read these comments, and we do have some things that were said today from BA on at Radio Row, which is always a great thing to do, right? When you're at Radio Row, you interview BA, and you can get some really good stuff there from him. And there was definitely some things that were mentioned that I think are absolutely important at the end of the day. Finally, all four of the core defense in the Hall of Fame, Tampa 2 originators. Ronde overrated.
This guy sucks.
System cornerback, didn't Barber play well? And Mike Smith's defense, he did, and that's a hard system to play in. Of course, that system would be 10 to 15 yards back. Probably should break that system. Correct. Congrats to Ronde Barber, says Robert. Tampa 2 fit him like a glove. Super Bowl champ, Ring of Honor, and now Hall of Fame. Great comment.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go out to Dave here. Screw Cam, regular season champ Jordan. Agree with that.
Flawless victory.
Let's go on to Mike. Barber was long retired when Mike Smith became our defensive coordinator. I don't know if he played in that time of Mike Smith. I got to look that up. Don't think he was back then. Ronde made the nickel corner position. I lost my Barber jersey in my divorce. Need to buy a new one. Ronde Barber, Hall of Famer, damn near brings tears to my eyes. I don't know what the tears are from. Is it from Ronde getting into the Hall of Fame or losing that jersey and a divorce, my friend? Go get your jersey.
Flawless victory.
And never let a woman separate you from something along the lines of historic as that, right? She wasn't the right one. You did the right thing, my friend. You did the right thing. Polk County, Florida here. All right, stand up.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go out to Mike here. Simeon Rice steps over Cam Jordan on the way to the bathroom. Love it, Mike. Polk County, absolutely. Rick Brown, he always says it. Polk County, stand up. We shall. How many touchdowns did he have? It's like something along the lines of 14. That was 14 touchdowns. So that was the statistic that was thrown to me. Does Rich McKay deserve to be in the Ring of Honor? Absolutely, he does. Let's see here. Love watching the film session. He's definitely good working with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Buccaneers.com. He does a great job on that. I'm on the Barber side, but Peter Law was a shutdown corner. Ronde played at nickel and at safety, so you can really bring up tackles, and people tried Barber more than they tried Law. That's a fair assessment, but at the end of the day, the numbers don't lie. Barber is better than Law. I know what you're saying about man-to-man corner. 85 Bears, best defense ever. Dave says Mike Evans will be our first offensive Hall of Famer next. I love that.
Oh, yeah.
I completely agree with you. He is definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer. And if he's not, there should be an investigation. Professional wide receiver. What is it? 9 consecutive now? I've lost track. It's late, but it's an amazing consistency. And with the line of quarterbacks continues to get it done. Congrats, Ronde. Even Rives was a former Buck getting his jacket as well. Of course, who could forget that? Second year, Greg Schiano. You trade 2 first-round picks at the time, and you get Darrelle Revis coming off a brutal injury. Played well, and then, of course, moved on the very next year because you get Lovie Smith. He's got a $16 million cap hit, and Lovie feels like he doesn't fit the defense. You make Darrelle Revis fit that defense. The whole system thing didn't make any sense at all. Ronde put in the work after his first year. Absolutely, says Christopher Cole. Tulio says, well, another former Buck is going to be a guaranteed Hall of Famer. The GOATs. I like it.
Oh, yeah.
Even if he goes in as a Patriot, the Bucs fans will always claim him because he brought Super Bowl 55 to the Bay Area. A beautiful thing. David says, I see everybody going praise Nickerson and Dungy, but the person I think that turned around the defense was Monty Kiffin. Good comment.
Flawless victory.
Let's go out to David again. That's what I've been saying when people keep bringing up Barber, sacks, and trying to compare them to real corners. How many times did Darrelle Revis or Law blitz throughout their whole career? Very rarely, and that is important. He was important to that defense and the way they absolutely used him. Let's go out to Roger Shue. Congrats, Tiki Barber. Once again, trolling.
This guy sucks.
Roger said, where's the Greek? He's sleeping. To me, Barber should have went in the first nickel corner. Agree. David says the most iconic moment in Buccaneer history is Barber's pick 6. I think they should have made a statue of him running the ball back and put it at the stadium. I agree. I like that a lot.
Boom shakalaka!
Let's go out to Richard. Ronde not only has the greatest play in Bucs history, he took over that NFC Championship game. It was just amazing to witness sacks, forced fumbles, passes defensed, and of course, the pick six. Great comment.
Oh, yeah!
Let's go out to Roger Shoe. I burnt the hole in that ugly jacket.
That's great enough to suck right there!
Let's go out to Dave. The game the refs gave to the Rams, that was a catch. It was a catch. Still in my nightmares. Still in my nightmares with the blitz, not being able to get to Kurt Warner. Ricky Pearl over the top. What was it, like 4 minutes? Almost the game over, 4 minutes. You score a touchdown there. And then you try to drive with Sean King and Bert Emanuel. And, of course, the controversy there that was at the time. Let me read some of these comments here on I Love St. Pete. Richard says, technically, the two Bucs inducted into the Hall of Fame tonight. Ronde is the man, says Cole. I will always remember where I was when that pick was made. It's about time for Barber. Cole again. I love me some TJ. Who doesn't love TJ Rives? He's a legend in this business. Sandra Nagel, my beautiful mother. Go friend her on Facebook. She's a big-time Bucs fan, historian herself. Congratulations, Ronde. You definitely deserve it. So that's the comments there. And I Love St. Pete. Keep those comments coming. And you're exactly right. The refs, they changed the rule the very next year. David says, how the hell is Kiffin not in the Hall of Fame? His Tampa 2 defense changed the NFL for like 7 to 8 years. Astute point.
He's on fire!
Let's go out to Dave here. Where was I when Ronde shut down the vet? I was sitting at home away from my Tampa family and the heart of Carolina Panther country, yelling and screaming that the Bucs were going to their first Super Bowl. I love it.
Oh, yeah!
Let's go out. Good stuff there, Dave. David. So we got Dave and David here. Damn you, Peter. One thing I try to forget. Kills me to know that there's a Buccaneer Super Bowl ring out there with Rob Johnson's name on it. But remember, he was definitely a big part of that win versus the Carolina Panthers, even though Martin Gramatica kicks your way to win. It looks like, what is it, 12-9? I mean, this is why you got to go to buckpower.com in case you're like me. You forget some of these things. But he was a big part of that, putting them in position to win. No touchdowns at the time. He struggled. He was a free agent pickup. There's another player that nobody's bringing up that was on the team. What about Mike Alstott? We talked about it, David. Good point. Dave says, yes, Ira the Sage Kaufman. Great job, of course, of Joe Bucs fan. Great job by him tonight. Brad says, where only the good get in now. That includes baseball. Hall of Fame has become a joke. Brad, I don't know what you're talking about. We talked about Ronde Barber being one of the best of all time. Look at the numbers. Look at the Super Bowls. Look at the plays. Look at the clutch plays that he made in his career. He absolutely deserves it. He is not good. He is great by far. By far, he is one of the best in this era, period. And tonight, he is a Hall of Famer. Let's go on to David Hay. There were 2 other corners on that Super Bowl team that were pretty damn good, too. They were actually starting corners. You're talking about Brian Kelly and, of course, Dwight Smith. So yes, very good there. Roger says Godwin, not the comeback player of the year. No, he wasn't. It was Geno Smith, but definitely there's a case there. Over 100 receptions coming off a torn ACL and able to come back and have over 1,000 yards receiving and over 100 catches. He should have got consideration. So a terrible comment is all.
That's great enough to suck right there!
Let's go on to Dave. I take Tampa Bay's Super Bowl defense, not just because I'm a Bucs fan, against any of the other legendary defense of all time. I agree with that. The personalities, getting after it, scoring touchdowns, and having Monty Kiffin to basically run it all. Sapp and Brooks, you don't stop there. Lynch and Barber. And once again, players that are not mentioned, Brian Kelly, Dwight Smith, of course, Dexter Jackson, Shelton Quarles, so many. Greg Spires, not talked about. Booger McFarland, just so many good players on that team. LeBron can't hold Jordan's jock or Kareem's. Agree. Jordan, 10 scoring titles. Bron had 1. Good comment right there.
Yeah!
Let's go out to Dave. LeBron is a product of social media era. If MJ was playing during this age, it wouldn't be a question. It would not be a question because there is no physicality to the league anymore. There is no defense. I get it. There's skilled big men that can shoot a 3 and do this and do that and stretch the floor. But I'm talking about the physicality of the game. When you get your ass knocked out. When you play against the Detroit Pistons, the bad boys, and you had to deal with Rick Mahorn and Bill Laimbeer. Guys like that. Dennis Rodman, Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumars, a physical team that the Bulls had to get through. They lost to him for a couple years. Remember, Jordan got bigger and he made his team better. And that's why you have to respect him. And we have to respect that era. Of course, you got Bird and Magic Johnson. Some amazing players that nobody talks about anymore because you talk about skilled players shooting threes. That's what the game has become. I don't really get into basketball, but I'm already tired of people saying LeBron is the GOAT for the NBA because he broke the scoring record. I always ask them, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Hakeem Olajuwon, you put that, held the record for 30-something years, and nobody ever called him the GOAT. Christopher Cole says, we're going to need a bigger Ring of Honor for more players from the first Super Bowl and the players that were here in the Dungy years. Good stuff. Dave says, when is Barrett Ruud getting into the Hall of Fame? I don't think that's going to happen. That's a nice joke there you had. But y'all got to remember, after Sanders' fourth or fifth game, nobody wanted to even try to throw on Sanders' side. I mean, he was that good, right? I mean, he was the typical shutdown corner. You didn't want to throw to his side. He most likely couldn't tackle. You never could tackle anybody. But as far as a pure cover corner, he could absolutely be a cover corner. He could, absolutely. Richard says, to be called who said there's 3 Ronde Barbers. You're absolutely right. Ronde is so great. It felt like there were 3 Rondes on the field. One was scoring defensive touchdowns. One was sacking the quarterback. And the other was hitting fools like a linebacker. Go Bucs. Great comment. Blessings, Peter. Thank you very much for tuning in. Appreciate you.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Tammy, right there. David says, not Dwight Smith, Donnie Abraham. Well, Donnie Abraham was not on that team at the time, I don't believe. It was Dwight Smith. Godwin to the Bears.
This guy sucks.
Piston Bulls were my favorite games. And again, the physicality of it wouldn't go today, especially with LeBron James. And I get it, he's a bully, but I felt like if LeBron were back in that era, he wouldn't be as successful. Case in points. When Boston was physical, he left Cleveland and went to the Miami Heat to form a super team. Why? Because he could not handle the physicality of the Boston Celtics with, of course, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and I'm forgetting the other player. It is late. Pete, go to bed. I am. Good night. Thank you very much for tuning in. Let's get out to some of these Bucs stories that happened today. This in care of, once again, Joe Bucs fan. Bruce Arians was joined on the Outkick.com show on Radio Row and dropped one of the most interesting lines of 2022. There was no bitterness in Arians' voice. He respects his handpicked successor, but he didn't agree with them. He said about Todd Bowles today, Todd's got to do what he needs, and the way he feels and his philosophy, it didn't match this year. Let me go back to it again. This is BA. Todd's got to do what he needs, and the way he feels and his philosophy, it didn't match this year. Byron's going to be a head coach someday, talking about Leftwich. Hopefully this doesn't set him back too far because he is a tremendous football coach. So, yeah, I think for us, it's just which direction we want to go in. Todd wanted to go in a different direction, and it's his ball club, but I wouldn't change a thing. Wow. A BA being straight up, saying I would not change a thing. Talking about Byron Leftwich in this offense. So, obviously, there was dissension, it seems like. And we talked about this, right? The reason why Byron Leftwich and a lot of this coaching staff was let go is because Todd wanted his own coaching staff. He's going to get that opportunity this year. And that's why I say, people say, they're going to run with Trask. It's Trask time. It's going to be Kyle Trask. We're going to go with the rebuild. You think Todd Bowles signed off on a rebuild? Because if you do, that's probably the worst job in the National Football League. I'm asking the Glazers at this point, are you giving me 2 years to rebuild this thing? So I don't agree with the rebuild. I think they're reloading. I think they're definitely going to go after a veteran quarterback. Nothing on the Derek Carr situation. He was in New Orleans visiting them again. So we'll see how that works. Also, from the same interview, he told, I think we have to do our due diligence, referring to the quarterback shopping. We all love Kyle Trask. Now watch this. Listen to what he's saying here. Everybody was confirming, oh, he loves, it's kind of like, what's the movie I'm looking for? It's kind of like Anchorman. Or no, it's kind of like Ricky Bobby, right? When he's insulting his boss, he goes, that's a great idea, but I really think you're a dumbass. Something along those lines. That's what it seems like here with BA and what he's saying. We all love Kyle Trask. We think Kyle is going to be a hell of a player, but you always got to look behind door number 2 and see what's there. Not my words. That's BA right there. That's the consultant. Now, how much of an ear does he have at Todd Bowles? How much of an ear does he have at Jason Light? We love Kyle Trask, but I love your show, Pete, but I don't really watch it. I've heard that before. I love what you do, Pete, but I don't think you have enough experience. What the hell is that? I listened to the second part of it more than the first part. So it certainly seems like door number 2. And where did we remember this happening? In the 2020 offseason. Remember? We like Jameis Winston, but we want to see what's behind door number 2. And behind door number 2 was what? Tom Brady. His words, not mine. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Some other things to address here. Dan Graziano and Jenna Lane were basically having some type of roundtable for ESPN. And they said in so many words, they think Derek Carr will not come here, that the Bucs will decide to settle on a guy familiar with the Bucs in the Tampa Bay area. You know and love him all so well. That would be Blaine Gabbert. And then after they would settle on Blaine Gabbert, and this is according to Jenna Lane, the Bucs aren't stopping there. Bucs coach Todd Bowles said, you never want to rebuild. You're always reloading, but Tom Brady's not returning. It certainly feels like a rebuild and will warrant some patience. Drafting Anthony Richardson, AR-15 from the Florida Gators, and having Blaine Gabbert serve as a bridge makes sense. Richardson is still a raw prospect, but won't be asked to start right away. The interceptions are concerning, 9, but he has a big arm, plenty of mobility, and ability to improvise when the play breaks down. It brings another dimension to the offense. There you go. And this is mock draft season. Mock me if you like. We'll have some mock drafts coming here in the next couple of weeks on what the Bucs are going to do at number 19. But that has been talked about. That has been talked about. Not only that has been talked about, but also the Bucs trading up for a quarterback. But I think it plays out here in the next couple of days. Who's your offensive coordinator first? The Bucs decide on the offensive coordinator. Does that dictate who the quarterback is going to be? And if it is a young offensive coordinator, do we think it is going to be Kyle Trask? Again, going back to the BA comments, we love Kyle Trask, but we got to see what's behind door number 2. So there you go. Let's go on to Christopher Cole here. Very interesting. Absolutely. David says, please not Richardson. He is Tebow 2.0. I don't think he's Tebow 2.0. He's got to work on his accuracy. From the standpoint of Tebow, the athleticism is there. What also is a problem is he's not able to throw from the pocket consistently. And that's what you have to have in the NFL. But what the NFL likes right now, what a lot of general managers and owners are trying to search for, is the next Josh Allen, the next Patrick Mahomes, the next Lamar Jackson, somebody that can get outside of the pocket and improvise. But at the end of the day, you also have to throw from the pocket consistently. Can he do that enough? He didn't show me he could do it. You look at the numbers with the Florida Gators, he didn't do it enough. But who knows? If he has an unbelievable combine, there may be somebody out there that is quarterback desperate and may take him ahead of the Bucs, or the Bucs may tab him. And of course, we talked about Devin Hester, the most punt returns, 14 than anyone in the NFL history, and 29 offensive touchdowns, also the most in league history, gets snubbed tonight. We talked about that. Let's go out to Dave here. Oh, God, I'm a Gators fan, and I say hell no on Richardson. So with that being said, I think we're going to wrap it up here. Thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll read another comment. BA love Trask, but does Bowles. He says so verbally, but his actions suggest he wants a proven quarterback. And if you're Todd Bowles, do you want to go with a Kyle Trask who is unproven, who has never taken a snap for a legitimate game? He took some snaps against the Atlanta Falcons. It's not enough. He needs experience. So basically, essentially, you're putting in a rookie quarterback. I get it. The Bucs have weapons, but you got to learn a new system. All the reports that have been out there is that he's a slow processor, that he doesn't understand offenses that well. Is that going to help out? Furthermore, all the pressure is on Todd Bowles to not go through a rebuild. You have to win now. We would all agree as Bucs fans out there that this team definitely underachieved with only 8 wins this year. So the pressure is on. I cannot see them going with Kyle Trask. I see them going with a proven quarterback, and hopefully it's Derek Carr, but we'll see how that works out. And David says, another great show, Peter. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. It's fans like you. You are the lifeblood of what the sports web is all about. For you Bucs fans, again, the breaking news of the night, Ronde Barber is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Thanks to TJ Rives and all the calls. Do 3 things for me here on this Thursday night celebration. Drink up, my friends. Bucs fans, another Hall of Famer is going to Canton, Ohio. It's Ronde Barber. 3 things. Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake, your Rolex reporter. What time is it? It's my time. And fans of the sports web and Bucs fans, it's your time. Have a great night.